I thought I would take you along on a little garden tour. I don't have much cell phone battery charge, but the food is amazing, and growing your own food, the most important thing you can be doing right now. I'm in Western North Carolina. We've been hit by this storm. We are so busy with the volunteer, and it's dusty and dirty, and I'm pretty sure all of that stuff is toxic, and we need the greens and the healthy foods to nourish us, to keep us out of the grocery store, because everything in there is pretty much poison and toxin, in my opinion, at this point. All right, I'm gonna flip this around. All right, here is my tower. That is super duper tall. So this is eye level for me. And on this tower, I put a baby greens extension kit, which has 32 grow spots. They look like this. And there's 8 of them per row. And so along this middle section, just to give you guys an idea how tall this thing is, it's so amazing. Along this middle section, I can just come here and harvest dinner. I'm actually gonna make a huge, delicious salad. This is a crisp head iceberg lettuce. This is arugula. And then along the top, I put my cilantro, and it's fabulous. These cabbage are Emiko cabbage. They'll be ready to harvest in about 2 weeks. This is a granate Chinese cabbage. So amazing. Mustard greens, I shared this on my recent YouTube. They are using CRISPR technology to modify the greens. And CRISPR technology is a pretty bad gig if you're not familiar with it. The reason it's a problem is because they don't use it just to take out something and alter it. They can put things back in. So recently they mixed soybeans and pig protein. And so now the soybean will have 20% pig protein in it. That's what was approved by the FDA. And that's pretty disgusting in my opinion. Mixing like kinds. These are my green beans. They're on their way out. So the browning's normal because we're at the end of the season. But I have been able to get about this many every day, every other day for a long time, for the past month. And then I was able to get more before that. So they've just been putting off a ton of green beans. Green beans are so good, raw too. Delicious. It's my pepper tower. I grow a variety of different peppers. These are corbachi. I've got chili peppers on here, jalapeno peppers. Peppers, I have no idea what they are. They're a little bit off from the hurricane. My nutrients got off. Bell peppers, but they're doing great. This tower's done for the season. I'm actually harvesting the last of the sage to put away for the winter. And we'll just take this apart and clean it. I'm cleaning them, and we started seeds to get seeds going for the winter because these actually have a light kit, and I grow, this is it right here. I grow them in the garage. So I put the light kit on, and then I grow them in this garage. This garage used to be clean and organized. It is now a distribution center, like everything in Western North Carolina. Everywhere you go, stuff. I'm not a stuffed person too, so it overwhelms me, but that's all right. Here we've got, thank you. Susie said, I love your towers. Yes, they survived the storm. Amazing. And I actually have a company that just reached out and is sending me a solar generator just for my towers. So I'm going to share that on a YouTube. That was the one thing. You can plug these into a generator easily, but I don't like to rely on generators, and generators became useless very quickly in this storm because people were trapped and couldn't get away from, to the gas stations. So if you didn't have gas prepped, generators ran out pretty quick because there was no gas for a while. Then when there was gas, they only took cash for many, many days. A lot of people don't keep cash. Keep cash. That's on the prepper list. Make sure you have cash. So yeah, a solar generator. I'll share the type, the one they send. We're going to do a whole review, test it out. Growing your own food. This is the most important prep ever. And I think one thing that people might overlook, because I've been kind of preparedness minded, I've been preparedness minded for many years. With soil gardening, I think it's thought of like if it's hydroponics, that you could get in a situation where if there's no power or there's an emergency situation, you wouldn't have food. Well, first off, I hand watered these for 5 days and they did amazing. So we have food. But really, I think people forget too, like you need power to water a soil garden because most people don't have artesian wells or a way to collect enough water to keep plants growing. This uses 90% less water. And I can tell you from this emergency, water is, you would not believe how much water you use until you don't have it. And if you've got to water a garden to actually grow a substantial amount of food, that would require huge rain barrel tanks that are connected to your house that are storing rain consistently with pretty complex filtration systems and things like that to grow the amount of food I grow. This would require, oh man, these are 20-gallon tanks, and at full grown, I'm going through them. Like you would need 100 gallons a week to grow this much food in a soil garden where I'm only using 20 gallons a week. Just to do some math on that. So there's that with soil gardening. There's also the issue of when you don't have power or we're in an emergency situation, your yard turns into a weedy mess very, very quickly. And so gardening, we aren't set up with horses and ways to keep soil from being overtaken by weeds and grass from growing super, super high. So managing a soil garden in a long-term emergency is pretty difficult. You would be better off learning how to forage, have some mushroom logs and things like that than to rely on a soil garden. It would become a nightmare super quick, especially in the peak growing season like the summer. You could lose everything to weeds. You could lose everything to grass in just a couple of weeks. Susie said, I plan to get several towers. Yeah, so if you've already got solar and battery, the towers really are, and I've got another system in my garage. I've shared it before, the harvest wall. It's amazing too. Way more expensive. The towers, I feel like, are a great entry level. Like they don't really cost that much. I know people look at it and think it's so expensive, but as a gardener who's grown in the soil, if I've paid $1,000 for one of these with the light kit, I've easily spent that several times over the last 20 years soil gardening on compost, and I have nothing to show for my compost, nothing to show for the hundreds of dollars, thousands I spent on raised beds that turned back into soil because they rot over time. Nothing to show for all that labor. Where with the towers, they're here forever. I've got friends who've been growing on these towers for over 15 years in the hot Florida sun. They're made out of a special material too, so they don't leach chemicals. I know some of you guys are DIYers, and that's great. Just be careful with the materials. Or if you do them out of buckets, make sure you use food grade buckets. That's super important. Just use the right plastics. Hello from Vermont. Hi. What? Sorry, I cannot read and be on a live. So I'll read your comments later, unless they pop up, and I can try. So I'm going to give you guys a little tour here, and then before my phone dies. So on this tower, I was harvesting these a minute ago. We've got lots of peas. This is a patio pride pea. So they're a bush pea, and they put off a ton of food because they're going to bloom, and then they're going to grow bigger. And then they're going to bloom, and then they grow bigger, the plant. So these are still so, I mean, look how tiny these are, these bushes. This is my 3rd time harvesting food off of them. Now, when they're smaller plants, it does take time to get enough off of them because we like, you know, lots of peas, and you need big bushes to get big amounts of peas per plant, but you definitely get a lot of food. So with something like this, it's not fast turnover food, and you would want to do more than one plant if you want a substantial amount. I think I have 20 pea plants on here. I also have turnips. Look at this. You can grow turnips because turnips actually are not a deep root vegetable. Deep root meaning like carrot or potato grow under the soil. Turnips can grow above the soil. So my feeder roots are inside, and the bulb, the food part, is outside. Those do amazing. Over here, these are all my kale. I heavily seed my kale We're gonna have a big salad tonight. So you can come and cut this and let it regrow. I always like to put new starts in, and I talk a lot about that, like seeding, and I have a seed starting course and a membership site, and I teach like how to do that so that you always have food. So I'm starting seeds every 2 weeks, but because of the hurricane, I fell behind. So tonight I'm just gonna cut this and let it regrow. Both options are fine. I just find you get food faster and better tasting food if you just start a new one. Look at all this beautiful kale, parsley. This is kohlrabi, and it's doing great. Purple lady bok choy, those are full of anthocyanins. We want to grow those. This is arugula, natural medicine. Over here, everybody loves to talk about spinach. Spinach is actually not very healthy. What? I don't want to say it's not very healthy. It's not the healthiest option. Couple of reasons. 3 days after spinach is harvested, it loses 90% of its vitamin C. It's thought that most greens are losing, maybe only have like 15 to 30% of the nutrients, 30% being very generous by the time you eat them, because they die off, nutrients die off. So when we're growing them and we're eating them off a tower, they go right from the tower to our bodies. Like I'm gonna make this salad here and we're gonna eat it in the next 20 minutes. So we're keeping all the nutrients intact. But spinach also has a chemical in it that makes it where you can't absorb calcium. And so I get my calcium, I don't do dairy, so I get my calcium from my plants. So I need to be able to absorb that calcium. So I actually don't grow spinach. On my towers, for one, it doesn't grow well. I don't know why. I know why, but that's a long story. It's because of how it grows. Like spinach is typically like 6 leaves per seed, so you need to do a lot of them, and the way they grow, it's just not conducive to being super successful with aeroponics or hydroponics. It's possible, just there's better options. I can grow this, which is Chijimusai. It's Kamatsuma and Tatsoi, basically a hybrid of those two, and this is a super healthy green. It's so delicious. It's got way more nutrients in it just naturally than spinach. You're never going to find it at the grocery store because they don't give us the superfoods at the grocery store. They tell you kale's a superfood from the grocery store, but actually even organic kale they found was loaded with PFAS, the forever chemicals, because organic growing practices use a lot of plastic tarps to deal with weeds. And when you're cooking, like silage tarps, also covered crop tarps, because they want to keep bugs and things away, or greenhousing them. And that heat with that particular plastic that's not super high quality food grade plastics leach chemicals into our organic produce. Also, kale's great and all, but this Chijimusai, that is where it's at. There are much healthier greens out there for sure. What was the name of that green? Okay, it's called, and someone asked me to spell this, and I'm super dyslexic, so it's never going to happen. But I got them at rareseeds.com. If you go to rareseeds.com and look in their greens, I just kind of peruse all their greens because they have such great ones. But it's called Chijimusai, but it's spelled Chai-Jai-Mai-Sai. It's a cross between Tatsoi and Kamatsuma. You can buy Tatsoi there and Kamatsuma as well. Both are amazing. I love Tatsoi. The reason I do that hybrid is because I have a real hard time getting Kamatsuma, which is a superfood, to germinate. I have a really hard time with that one, but the Chijimusai is amazing. And I'm about fast food on the table all the time, so if it's difficult, sometimes I just move on to the next best thing. And that's the cool thing about growing your own food and all these greens, because there's so many amazing options and so many flavor profiles. Radishes would be good for this system. Yeah, radishes are a little finicky. It's weird. Turnips I can do great, and beets, I grow beets on my system. Radishes, they do grow, but because a radish is like such a little amount of food, it's almost not worth it sometimes. So I typically just do my radish in raised beds, but you can do it for sure. Where with the turnip greens, they do take a little bit of time too. Actually, they're not that slow, but the turnip greens are huge. Let me show you. These are turnip greens. So if you look at my tower, it looks like a chia pet. Isn't that funny? It's like giant up top, skinny on the bottom. These greens are massive. That's as big as my arm. And this is a turnip green. And it's actually, the greens are one of the healthiest greens on the planet to consume. So a lot of times I'm growing this kind of stuff. Yes, I want these beautiful bulbs that are in here because I love turnips, but I'm growing a lot of them for the greens too, where radishes don't have those greens. Radishes have pretty small greens. So it's just a bang for your buck. Like, what do you want to get out of it? But yeah, you can totally do it. What are the first 3 letters of these plants? Okay, C-H-I. Chai, C-H-I-J-I, chai, my, M-I, Sai, S-A-I. I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it. Chai, jai, my, Sai. Hopefully. I just found you. Do you have... Yes, I have tons of videos on using the towers. And I have links in my, I'll put a link in the comments and in my description. But if you go to my other videos to purchase the tower, and I like to send out my free seed starting course when you use my link, because starting seeds is probably the trickiest part. It's not difficult, but there is a procedure to follow when you're starting hydroponic seeds. So aeroponics is a form of hydroponics, and these are actually a hybrid system. So they run similar to hydroponics in that the water, I don't know if you can hear it. It goes from the tank. A pump pushes the water up, and then through here, it's dripping down and feeding my plants. Outside, it's running 3 minutes on, I haven't said these numbers in a while. It's turning on every 12 minutes for 3 minutes, I think, something like that. And then inside, it's running for 5 minutes every 40 minutes. And so we're just dripping. The rest of the time, the roots are in the air, which makes them really, really efficient at absorbing nutrients when they are exposed to the water with the nutrients in it. We use only clean nutrients. They're minerals from the earth. These are not organic materials like fish waste. So that is one of the reasons why with this particular system, you don't have to fuss with things that you fuss with hydroponics, like checking the amount of solvents in the water. It has a name like the AC or something like that. We don't have to do that in this system. I never check my pH ever. It's just not ever been a thing for me that I have to worry about. And look at these plants. I can tell when my nutrients are off. I've got a couple of towers that I've been trying to get back to normal since the hurricane because they got rainwater in them and it threw the nutrients off. But yeah, they're super, super easy system that way. Caught you live. All right, so I just want to show you guys the tour. I'm going to show you one more tower. So this one's called a flex tower. This one's a flex with several extensions on it. And so in the spring, you'll see a lot of these. I'm going to have 8 of them. It'll actually be 1 layer higher. And that's just how you maximize growing an enormous amount of food. This is 3 square feet is all I need for this. And I'm going to have 54 plants. No, I have more than that because this is a baby greens extension kit. This is probably 112 plants. That's a lot. This is what they look like taken apart. Super basic, simple system. And then the smaller tower is over here. This is our home tower. This is the one people typically use in the house because it has wheels. And I grow a ton of food on this one too. I like to put these in my garden. This is my walkway. And I believe in food being close to your home. So these are all blue. This is kiwi plant, blueberries, honeyberries. There's medicinal herbs through here. I've got mushrooms. Look at these. Mushrooms growing, mushroom logs. Lost my train of thought. But yeah, so I put my towers here so that if I need to make a smoothie or do something, I can just come out here and grab it. And this is a baby cauliflower. It grows in 40 days. It's so fabulous. The leaves are amazing. And it's not huge. If you're a gardener, you know how big and how long cauliflower can take. This one is small and it grows these softball, the size of the palm of my hands, in 40 days. So I just grow a lot of those instead of wasting time growing big cauliflower. I found that to be much easier. These are my collard greens, more cauliflower, more turnips, so much food. Look at this turnip. I mean, have you ever seen anything so beautiful? These are my beets. Beets are slow, but they're worth it. They're a superfood. What were the name of the towers? Oh, okay. The towers that you can use inside, Dove, it's the home tower. And I'll post a comment with I don't know if I can do it here. No, I can't. If you go to one of my videos, or I'll post a comment when I get off, you'll see a link to the towers, and definitely grab that so I can use my link so I can send you my resources. But there's a free ebook in there too if you want to learn about them, and it talks about like the home towers for indoors. You can use a flex indoors too. They all use the same pumps, the same timers, the same lights. Everything is the same except for this one has wheels on it, where the other one you have to buy a dolly of wheels if you want it on it. And this one is a little bit more like for the person who wants to grow medium to small plants and use it a lot indoors. I grow big plants on mine too, though. I mean, I've got bell peppers here. Look at these. I've got so many peppers. These are all jalapeno peppers. So, I mean, I say, that's big. Those are big plants. It's a full-blown collard plant right here. So I say medium to small, but I also grow a bunch of stuff. You just wouldn't want to grow like pumpkins on this, because you can grow everything on the towers except for deep root vegetables, which are carrots, potatoes, garlic, pretty much everything else. So I can grow my own pumpkins, I grow my own watermelons, grow my own cantaloupe, big vining things. You just have to have a way to manage the vines. And I have some full YouTubes on that. I have some trellis systems I use, and they're great. Thanks for hopping on, guys. Just wanted to show you the beautiful towers. The other benefit too, this is my driveway. I grow all our own produce. We're preparing for winter. I grow all my own produce in literally the amount of space it would take to park a pickup truck. And some of my towers aren't even up right now. They're in the cleaning phase and they will be planted out. So you can do a lot in a really, really small space, because I'll hear that quite often. I don't have space to garden. We just don't park our car in there, so I can grow food in the winter in there. And we don't park our car in this one little section of the driveway. And actually in the summer, way over there, I use a little edge of our driveway and I grow all of our vining things like pumpkins and watermelon and huge amounts of food in the tiny little spot with 2 trellises. That's literally maybe all you need is like 3 feet. So that's it, 3 feet per tower, 3 square feet per tower. I would need to grow this much food. I would need a couple thousand square feet of flat land in my yard, which I don't have. So glad we got a backup plan. All right, have a beautiful night. I will see you guys soon. If you have questions on the towers, I will put a link, or definitely go check out my full videos. Also follow me on Instagram, and if you want to see daily things, I share recipes on my stories. I'm giving updates on Hurricane Helene and what's happening in our area daily on my stories, so definitely check those out. I'll see you guys soon.